There is a feature missing in here actually, and it is a pretty major one. In fact, one of my favorite Hyundai and Kia features in recent memory. More on that for you later. For now, I've got some handy touches to show you. I'm Justin Pritchard, and this is the all-new for 2024 Hyundai Kona N-Line. All right, so handy little touches, and there are an awful lot of them to cover. These are the things I think you'll appreciate the most on the daily if you buy one of these. And if you're already an owner, let us know if I'm missing anything by connecting down in the comments section below if you're watching on YouTube. So first thing is that we've got the turn signal and wiper stalks repeated here in the instrument cluster. So from where I'm sitting right here, I can only see one of those buttons. And importantly, it's the dimmer control switch for the instrument cluster, which also actually repeats up there too. So it's nice that that's always accessible. It's easy to reference there in the screen. And because we have all these hard buttons down here, right, that we can just use our fingertips for, it means it's much easier to turn this central infotainment screen off here if we don't like it. And that's easy to do. We just hold down on the power button there for a moment. And now it's easy to set up the exact brightness that we want. 2024 is the first model year for the second generation Hyundai Kona, with Canadian pricing from $26,000 for a Kona Essential with front-wheel drive and the base 2-liter engine, that's 147 horsepower and 132 pounds of torque. $28,005 gets you the preferred trim grade with available all-wheel drive, and then it's a big step up into the N-Line all-wheel drive at $35,005 with the turbocharged straight 4. This 1.6-liter makes it 195 apiece for horsepower and torque. My tester competes primarily with models like the Subaru Crosstrek, Mazda CX-30, and Honda HR-V. And if you're interested in seeing some comparison videos between those models, be sure to click the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube page, because there's plenty of SUV comparison content in the works. Elsewhere, exclusive visuals really show off an EV-looking styling language. There's wraparound lighting accents and that fantastic hatch spoiler up on top. Down lower, it's 19-inch alloys spicing up the optics. Inside, a fully digital instrument cluster, wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay standard on every trim grade, and all the bells and whistles on this tester, which I'll be going over with you soon. I really appreciated the widescreen all-digital display, and there's some red accenting to punch up the flare, as well as a little sprinkle of N-Line badging throughout to help drive the sporty appeal home. I also found the thin, low-profile shape to the dashboard to be fairly interesting and welcomed too. It helps open up the feel of the cabin for a better sense of space. So a little glove test for you, and shout out to my dad for the gloves today, who found these beautiful vintage Laurentian University mitts at a yard sale, and I'm never going to get rid of these. And I know you're watching, Dad, so thank you. Great pick. By the way, this is how you do steering wheel mounted controls. You can see we've got these hard buttons on the top and bottom here that click like this. That middle row, we've got this little toggle blade style switch here, and then this studded barrel style roller switch here. Same thing on this side. Hard button, same on the bottom. Little blade style toggle there, and a little studded barrel style switch here. Organizing different styles of buttons in this way not only makes it easier to find your way around the steering wheel controls with your gloves on, it also means you've got to spend less time with your eyes away from the road looking at which part of the steering wheel controls you're pressing every time you drive. So easy enough to work these here, especially the volume on this side, and no problem working those blade controls there with these sort of thick gloves on here. No problem finding your way around the climate control or media either, because of course we've got these hard buttons for just about everything here, which means that use of the touch screen is virtually never mandatory. But would it work with these gloves on, which I think came from the 70s and are not going to be touchscreen compatible? Let's have a look. Oh, look at that. Look at that, it works actually super well. I'm surprised because often when you're wearing gloves like this, that touchscreen is not going to work. So really appreciate the more conventional layout here to the controls, but especially, I mean, look at that. Yeah, this is working as if I'm hardly even wearing gloves at all. I'm actually really surprised by how easy that is. So no problem for gloves on here at all. And of course, no problem finding your way around the stereo or climate controls here too, because we've got hard buttons for everything. That's going to work easily there as well. We've also, down here, got our heated seat, heated steering wheel, auto hold function if we like. Over on this side, a button for parking camera and for the heated seat on the passenger side. Wireless charging pad here, And this is a touch I've never seen in any car before, and it's super handy. So let me show you what it is. So down here, beside those nice metal pedals, we've got the USB and sort of charging area here. So you can see we've got this one plug with two options. When we press this button, we can control whether that plug is offering data connectivity or charging. You can toggle between the two by pressing that button there. Now, as someone who's often recharging cameras, phones, tablets, laptops, drones, all kinds of equipment on the go, I can't tell you how much you're going to appreciate that if you're kind of in the same boat as me, maybe using your Kona as sort of a mobile workstation or office. And they've even gone as far as to integrate the cover for this 12-volt outlet here under a little sort of trim panel that springs out, nice action to it. But when you close that, look at how nicely everything just integrates into its surroundings there. Drive mode selector here, we just turn this back and forth. We do not have the entire instrument cluster animating like in some other models. We've just got the indicator for the drive mode down there on the lower left. Slight color change to the tachometer. Another nice touch for winter driving is the push button differential lock, which we activate down here. Just push that. We can see the little lock icons lit up there in the instrument cluster. When you press that, you're mechanically binding the front and rear axles together. That's for use in deep snow, mud, off-road situations, and so on, especially useful in deep snow. Now, the nice thing about that is if you think you're going to need it, you can just turn it on and leave it alone, because the Kona will automatically disengage that system when you exceed a certain speed and re-engage it when you come back down below that speed again. So if you think you're going to need it, just press the button, turn it on, set it, and forget it. Turns out the 1.6-liter turbo engine is pretty responsive, with that low-end shove really coming into play in around-town driving to fling my tester along from low revs with minimal noise or fuss. That turbocharger means that you've got pleasing throttle response at revs where non-turbocharged competitor engines are still rolling out of bed. Although the soundtrack could be better from under the hood, especially at the higher revs that you'll likely be seeing in sport mode. This engine is, in all, a competent all-around performer that I figure just needs a little bit of a better voice to really connect with a sportier driving style. Cabin noise levels were as expected at 100 kilometers an hour during highway cruising. I didn't notice anything remarkable about them, good or bad. I think you'll find them well within limits for the price point. And I didn't find the need to raise my voice for a conversation or phone call, unless driving over rough or coarsely textured pavement. So I don't think you'll find highway noise levels to be a considerable advantage or disadvantage versus just about anything else for your dollar if that's a priority for you. I was quite impressed with the performance and feel of my tester's brakes. There's an approachably precise feel of a pedal that communicates a reliable and confident building of pressure from minimal force, even fairly close to the very top of its travel. And with deep reserves of stopping power and an easy-to-control pedal action, I'd happily tell you the braking system here delivers a more high-end feel at the pedal than I was expecting. Actually, the brakes turned out to be one of the best things about how this machine drives, but they did leave me wishing for a more engaging feel to the steering, and again a more engaging sound from the engine. Maybe the looks of this machine aren't quite as sporty as the drive itself. The steering is light when it needs to be, heavies up nicely on the highway, and even more so in sport mode. Get the lane keeping assist turned on, and it's an easy machine to drive very smoothly on the highway, even for very long stretches as the electronics work with your safe driving to help smooth out the drive and reduce driver workload. In sport mode, the steering heavies up to pull you deeper into the experience, and it is amusingly quick in roundabouts and on winding backroads. Still, I think you'll find competitors like the Subaru Crosstrek and Mazda CX-30 to have a leg up on steering feel and response. So you saw me just getting in there, no need to duck my head, good sized door opening here. First thing to point out, camera guy James, and you probably noticed this too, let's take a look at this dashboard. I'm gonna put my hand all the way up here to the windshield. Now see how thin this dashboard is, right? It only comes to kind of the center of my forearm. It's a slimmer dashboard. It gives you the sensation of the dashboard being farther away. That has a way of sort of opening up the feel of the cabin. You notice there, no duck for my head here. It was tight, but I didn't have to lean down getting in there. The front seat here is in my comfortable seated driving position as a 5'10", 200-pound guy. Legroom is adequate there. I would say nothing much more than that. It's about what I would expect. We do not have the flat rear floor, so if you've got a middle passenger, their feet are going to be a little bit crowded. So I was walking the dog the other day and picked up his mess, as one does, and forgot to take it out. So if you're a dog owner like me, you've got a handy spot there for anything you want to take with you away from your walk at the park.
A place to put your...
Just bleep it, whatever.
No complaints on maneuverability. 3-point turns are sped up by the handy shift-by-wire mounted on the steering column, and nice backup camera graphics with a properly wide angle, and this helps take even more stress out of maneuvering in tight quarters. My biggest question approaching this test drive is whether the sporty looks and upgrades of this N-Line version of the Kona would leave it with a rough or unpleasant ride on the crumbling, pothole-riddled backroads common where I live in Sudbury, Ontario. These roads help separate the good from the great when it comes to ride quality over extremely rough surfaces. And I was surprised. Ride quality was better than expected. I'd say this machine rides more comfortably than it looks, but still delivers an engaging drive. It's no secret to regular viewers that my favorite backroads SUV in this size segment is the Subaru Crosstrek. To me, it feels the most willing to tackle our very rough roads, without sounding or feeling like it's going to break something. And actually, driving a Crosstrek down bumpy roads like this can be a little bit of fun. I'd say there's less separating the ride between the Kona N-Line and the Crosstrek than you might think. The Subaru feels like it's making better use of a more generous level of suspension travel. The Kona is a little harder and more solid on the rough stuff. But when it comes to overall comfort and control over noises, disturbances, and dramatic vehicle body motions, the Kona's not very far behind. All of that to say that while the Kona N-Line is what I'd call one of the sportiest looking machines in this segment, it actually has one of the most nicely sorted rides in this segment too.
So earlier I mentioned a missing feature, and that missing feature is camera turn signal mirrors. Look, nothing. So here's some footage of what that looks like in another vehicle because we don't have it equipped here. Now those camera turn signal mirrors are a feature that I look forward to whenever I'm driving a Hyundai, and I'm a little disappointed we don't have them here.
For the money, I could have also used a capless fuel refiller, and maybe a power driver's seat too.